nothing can save ya, cause this is the season of funky behavior. I came to relax your mind, you can recline. On what? On this here rhyme. I like the style, I'm staying for a while. It helps me show cats that I'm versatile. I'll touch your dial, turn your frown to a smile. I'll make you feel like you're having a child. So relax and open up, child. I'm about to make you walk what? Pimp style or pimped out style. You don't understand the logic. See, if you don't have it all, I'll take a deposit. I got shit for you, it's alright indeed. It's like going to the garden and planting the seed. It might tickle for a second, but it won't bleed. So just relax, just hear a dope ride. Your vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax and just hear a dope ride. Your vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Your entertainment at the same time, edutainment. In other words, you could call it bent. What I'm saying is that I'm here at your service. It's hard work, but then again, I deserve this. I'm helping people enjoy their spare time. I'm like an instructor when I'm doing my rhyme. Relax and just hear the dope track. It's really not all that, it's not like a gat. We like that when everything is relaxed and chill. You don't have to get fucked up or take pills, cause I like being myself, it feels good. Yo, it makes my meals taste good. 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 So just relax. It's your dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax and hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax. My mind state, now balloon, it won't inflate. Just take the buzz, it's much wiser, kid, fuck the shade. And take it to a lower level, and dig a ditch for a devil. Got some more kids and pass the shovel. Dig a hole, take them on a spiritual roll. Lyrics unfold, either that or unroll the scroll. Episodes keep reoccurring and stifling. People's vision get blurring, their hearts start murmuring. I'm about 5 times iller than a Sherman. Introspection is God's gift to the miracle. I freak material, lamb's milk without the cereal. When MCs say your booty, they mean venereal. Your fake material hip-hop killers, they more faking than fucking Michael Jackson and Thriller. The status of a hoe, Quanto Costa. They wanna know how much it costs, kid, I bet for keep tell so me just relax and just hear a dope crack. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax and just hear a dope crack. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax.
Relax. 1 2 1 2. Just relax. Yes, y'all. How's everybody doing this morning, this night, this afternoon, wherever you are right now? It is 9:43, November the 18th, Tuesday, Central European Time. That must make it 3:43 Eastern Standard Time, USA. And that must make it, what does that mean? That's 3 hours earlier. So that's around what, 12:43 on the West Coast, Arizona time. What's up, everybody? Mid coast, West Coast, East Coast, USA, America, South America, Brazil, Colombia, Canada, also Mexico, right? Chile, right? Big up to everybody in those parts. Also Panama. What's up to Panama? Wow, that part of the world has a great history. I like to review that history. It's so important, especially for Americans from the U.S. in understanding our history. It would behoove us to understand very well South American history also, right? I mean, I'm not going to give out the goodies why, but if you think you were the first, to step foot, in the U.S. part of the Americas, you would be sadly mistaken. Also, there's those Vikings that were there too. There's the Vikings that were there in the northern parts, right, of America. There was also the Olmecs, right? Many people, might quote or cite different names, but let's just say there were also stories of people of African descent coming to the Americas as well before Christopher Columbus, you could say, right? So having said that, due to the trade winds and things like that, yeah. But having said that, today's program, we're going back to where I was starting yesterday, because I realized I didn't deliver that message too well. So today I just want to tighten it up a little bit so you really understand what I'm talking about when I say, did Scotus, were they aware, or were any of them aware that Jeffrey Epstein was blackmailing Trump before they gave that immunity ruling? I mean, I think that's a fair question to ask, because let's be honest. These people get, let's take Clarence Thomas, for example. He gets money under the table. He has gotten money under the table, gifts, big ones, vacations, all types of shit. I mean, it's a scandal. It's been out there. It's almost normalized, sadly enough. It's almost normalized the type of scandalous, corrupt behavior that goes on the Supreme Court. And he's not the only one now. And I'm not saying all of them are the worst, no, there's some that is definitely worse than others. But not only that type of corruption, there's also this other type of corruption, this thing where you talk about ethics, and you ask yourself, like, what is, are some of these people, how can you say this, extremists in their own right? Are some of these people bringing some extreme ideological purpose to the Supreme Court? Hence trying to, always change what the president used to be before. You see what I mean? I mean, come on now. It's like, do we own our own bodies or what? Is slavery over or what? Well, apparently not for women, because women don't get to decide what they do with their own body. It's like that. You see what I mean? But men do. Men do. Men can kill 1 million sperm cells if they want. Is it living? Yes, it's alive. Hopefully. Hopefully. Oh, let me just say, this podcast is not for adults. If you're listening, not that it's going to get that gruesome, but it's not for adults, just in case you're listening, right? So this is 18 and over, okay? We don't do none of that Epstein Trump shit here, okay? We don't like them young. Now, in any case, back to the SCOTUS thing. I mean, the question is, did any of them know that? I mean, think about this. You could be friends. You could go out on trips. You could go out on golfing trips with billionaires. You see what I mean? Like, I mean, who's to say one of those billionaires wasn't Jeffrey Epstein? Who's to say one of those billionaires wasn't a billionaire friend of Jeffrey Epstein? I mean, why is that not plausible? Do they have to tell you? I think they, if they want to keep to the rules, they would. Right? They would recuse themselves but he said, she said, I heard it through the grapevine. No. So, on that note, let's follow up on that. Now I'm going to go back here. And I did a little research, and this time I have it ready. My argument wasn't, and it's not really my argument, by the way, but I didn't present what had been argued correctly in the Supreme Court. And then we're going to go over to the, breaking news, which is, of course, Trump faking like he wants the Epstein files released, which can he really want the Epstein files released and yet not release them? I mean, he doesn't seem to be releasing them today. All he has to do himself is say, release them, Pam Bondi, and they will get released. Release them, Kash Patel, and they will get released. All of a sudden, Trump, isn't in charge. They're not doing this high fear thing for Trump. He can't just call for it to be released. Well, at this point, it's a national scandal, so it should be released. I think he can give that order pretty easily now. But in any case, let's go back. Start where we were at before, just to get the gist of it, and then we take it from there.
The presidency is the most powerful office in the world. It's an office that
This is after the Supreme Court ruling
not only tests your judgment,
to give Trump immunity or the presidential more powers.
perhaps even more importantly, It's an office that can test your character. Because you not only face moments when you need the courage to exercise the full power of the presidency, you also face moments where you need the wisdom to respect the limits of the power of the office of the presidency.
Do me a favor, click the like button, please, as you're coming in. Click the like button. Thank you.
This nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States. With today's Supreme Court decision on presidential immunity, that fundamentally changed. For all practical purposes, today's decision almost certainly means that there are virtually no limits on what a president can do. This is a fundamentally new principle.
Now, a lot of people may, want to come in and challenge that. I think some folks, it would behoove folks to take a little more time when you analyze this statement. Now, what he's saying there, virtually no limits on power. Yeah. In reality, in real terms, in practical terms, yeah, theoretically, there might be some spaces where, no, you can't do this and no, you can't do that. But how things are defined, man, they opened up a serious gap in the rules of the presidency and made it even more obscure, But let's listen.
It's a dangerous precedent because the power of the office will no longer be constrained by the law, even including the Supreme Court of the United States. The only limits will be self-imposed by the president alone. This decision today has continued the court's attack in recent years on a wide range of long-established legal principles in our nation, from gutting voting rights and civil rights, to taking away a woman's right to choose, to today's decision that undermines the rule of law of this nation. Nearly 4 years ago, my predecessor sent a violent mob to the U.S. Capitol to stop the peaceful transfer of power. We all saw it with our own eyes. We sat there and watched it happen that day. Attack on the police, the ransacking at the Capitol.
Yeah, and
Mob literally hunting down.
today people actually saw, Trump also pardon all those people. All those people, no matter what they did. These people are committing more crimes on the street right now, after they got those presidential pardons from Trump. No accountability from this president. And think about this. This is who they knew was running for presidency. And the Supreme Court decided to do what? Broaden presidential powers at the end of Biden's term? I'm sorry, that makes no sense. That makes no sense. And I guarantee you, if Biden would have taken that standard that the Supreme Court set, which he didn't, this country would look totally different today if he had taken that standard. But he didn't, because he believed that was a mistake to do that. And this is what he's saying right here. But Biden, next time you get the chance, go for it, buddy, because look at how shit turned out now. Look at what everyone else had to go through. Look at what's going on. So, that's the lesson I learned. Until this Supreme Court has been changed, until some of these justices have been impeached for these kind of erroneous rulings and their behavior beyond that, right? I would say you better use the power, because that's all you got. I mean, they've given the power to Trump until Congress comes along and the Senate comes along and decides to put limits on that. You see what I mean? But they're defunct right now. They just get the taxpayer dollars, but they can't really fix the goddamn country. You see, and I'm not saying that there's not any that's trying, but they can't fix the fucking country as it is. You see what I mean? So, but let's listen a little more. Lala, thank you for that. I see you down there. Thank you, Lala.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Gallows erected to hang the Vice President, Mike Pence. I think it's fair to say it's one of the darkest days in the history of America. Now the man who sent that mob to the U.S. Capitol is facing potential criminal conviction for what happened that day. Mm-hmm. And the American people deserve to have an answer in the courts before the upcoming election.
And they didn't even get, what did they get? He can run again. So they broadened the presidential powers. This Supreme Court that's sitting right now, they broadened the Supreme Court powers at the end of Biden's term, at the end of his term, right? And then they rule after that he can run again, no problem. You got to wait now. You got to wait. You got to wait this prosecution, because even though the prosecution is about treason, his best friend is the most prolific sex trafficker in the entire country, molester in the entire, even though all these other things say criminality, the Supreme Court takes two decisions, all in a short period of time. One decision to give the president more powers, broader powers. Two, to allow a person who's literally been charged and indicted to run to hold office. I don't know what the hell is up with that, but that looks very, very criminal and suspect, and almost like they're a part of this Epstein bullshit. I'm just saying, like, wow, that was really interesting activity and actions by the Supreme Court in this environment, this Epstein environment. Remember, Epstein had already started. You know, he died. he was indicted. He died. Then Maxwell was just convicted under Biden's term. And then when Biden's leaving out, they make these two rulings. That sounds real suspect if you ask me. But let's just play a little more and then go into the next part.
The public has a right to know the answer about what happened on January 6th before they are asked to vote again this year. Now, because of today's decision, that is highly, highly unlikely. It's a terrible disservice to the people of this nation.
Do me a favor, y'all. Click the like button. Click the like button, please. I know you listening out there. It was almost like, 200 people? Click the like button, please.
So now the American people have to do what the courts should have been willing to do, but will not. The American people have to render a judgment.
So we're in that moment right now. Shit has been fucked up. We've made rulings for criminals to be more criminal. Wow. I wonder you mean to tell me they didn't realize Trump could be criminal? Like, wow. What space do the Supreme Court live in? What America do they live in? What newspapers they reading? Who the fuck are they hanging around? Like, goddamn. Like, what are they, under a rock? No, because they're not that conservative. You know what I'm saying? They don't go up into the mountain and pray like Moses and separate themselves from the average people and then come down and make rulings and shit. Hell no, they hanging out with these sleaze balls. They knew exactly what Trump was up to. They're not stupid. They know everything. How can the Supreme Court justice not be talking about legal cases and criminals? Of course they was talking about Jeffrey Epstein. And of course they was talking about what they heard. Of course. Because that's how the shit really works in reality. I mean, or far too often. And this looks like a far too often moment, but let's listen to some more.
Behavior. The American people have to do what the courts should have been willing to do, but will not. The American people have to render a judgment about Donald Trump's behavior.
Yeah, we got to vote. So we're in that moment. So we're waiting to vote. It's going to be a year. It's going to be a goddamn year. I mean, there was just some voting here now, yeah, and then we got to wait another year, right? Allegedly. We have to wait another year. Not even allegedly. Yeah, we got to wait another year unless there's some special elections coming in between then, right? But we have to wait another year, and that year, that is a painful year for a lot of people. That has been a serious ride for a lot of goddamn people. That's been like a roller coaster ride. Like, hang on, y'all. Let's go. Let's just get out there and take the craziest ride of our life. What's that? This is like a Far Side fucking record. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how many of y'all know Far Side, but this is like a damn what's their first album called? God damn. What the hell? I'll never get on that ride again, yo. It's the wackest ride ever on earth. You know what I'm saying? All right, now, here we go. Now, check this out. Now, listen to this. Listen to this. Hold on. Do I have the wrong one? I'm sorry. Here we go. Now, let's go back to Scotus again and listen one more time. Here we go.
Has purported to directly regulate the president's exercise of things like the exercise of the appointment and removal power, things like his ability to speak directly to the American public, core exercises of his authority under the recommendations clause to recommend to
Keep in mind, they're talking about a fucking criminal right now.
Congress, members of Congress, the measures he thinks necessary.
They're pondering.
So you have
they're pondering, what can a president do? And it could be Trump, the criminal, doing. Let's broaden powers. What is a president? Who is a president? Let me make some powers. They didn't even think that a criminal was coming into office, and they just broadening powers. I mean, come on.
Indictment in this case that goes right to the heartland of the president's powers that alleges a whole series of offenses.
And that's why in that song War, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how many of y'all know that song I wrote called War. They Want War, right? Sometimes I usually use it as my intro, right? They want war, right? All they really wanting is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the oil, man, they want more, but they want to keep you low, so they manifest the war. That song, right? I say something in it about all Congress is going to do is waste paper and ink because, this is what they do. They're talking congressional law right here. They're talking constitutional law. I'm sorry. They're talking constitutional law right here and bullshitting people like we're fucking illiterate. Like we don't know what the goddamn Constitution is. Like we don't know what they're saying. This is bullshit. This conversation is bullshit. They are literally discussing what laws, what rights could be expanded for the next incoming president whose best friend is the dirtiest, stankingest, conspiringest, blackmailingest, espionagist motherfucker on earth who this guy was hanging out with. That is what's going on right here. Sorry, that's bullshit. It doesn't matter what excuse it is. It doesn't matter they use the excuse of this is just law. No, this is not law. This is fucking criminality. This is criminal
acts and tries to tie them together by saying, well, there's a private aim or a private purpose in that case. And that's a situation which, of course, could be alleged in virtually any indictment.
Counsel, it can be alleged, but it has to be proven.
Imagine.
It can be alleged, but it has to be proven. Okay, let's hear a little more of that. Click the like button, y'all. Thank you.
Malum in se be alleged, but it has to be proven. Malum in se is a concept long viewed as appropriate in law, that there's some things that are so fundamentally evil that they have to be protected against. Now, I think, and your answer.
I mean, MAGA they crazy as shit because, wild enough, Trump would be the person to actually take their guns. He would be the one to do it. But MAGA's too stupid to see that. Just like he's the one to take their constitutional rights. I mean, come on. First Amendment, he wanted to challenge that. Now he wants to challenge other powers. I mean, MAGA, all they are is a bitch-ass party. A party that got fused with some foreigners who wanted power and some billionaires who wanted power who don't give a shit about any broke-ass red state American, right? Don't give a shit about them. They just fused themselves into that moment using tropes like illegal immigration and using racist and misogynistic tropes, homophobic tropes, all these little tropes. That's what they did to trick these people into giving up their goddamn rights, and they went right along with it. But as long as you know what your rights are, because this is your rights, watch what happens.
Have to be protected.
You have less rights now.
Protected against. There's long.
And to be honest, Trump can basically kill anybody at this point. You don't realize this is what the Supreme Court ruling did. They gave enough space now to where the president can actually kill people and not be held accountable practically. Sure, it could be called illegal, but can you hold him accountable for a crime? This is what they've done. Watch.
Viewed as appropriate in law, that there's some things that are so fundamentally evil that they have to be protected against.
And you got to wonder, like, why would they do this? And then, I'm going to ask the question, do some of these Supreme Court justices, were they aware that Jeffrey Epstein was blackmailing Trump? Because that is what he's discussing in those emails. Had they heard about this before? They are justices. They do know other judges. They do have private meetings. They do chat with each other, and they do talk about the tea. You know what I'm saying? Like, did they know this already? Had they had access to those emails? Have they heard anyone talking about, fuck the emails? Did they just know through the grapevine? You see what I mean? Because when you're typing emails, shit, them emails could have gotten out to 1 million people by now. You see what I mean? All it takes is one person who received that email on that thread and say, you know what? I'm going to send this to Justice Thomas. Let me forward it to him so he can know what's up. Let me forward it to another judge so they can know what's up, or anybody else. That's all it takes. They was talking about Trump in that way through email. Through fucking email. Like that, is that secure email? No, that's not secure email. And even if it is, that's not what you want to do if you don't want anybody knowing about it.
Now, I think, and your answer below, I'm going to give you a chance to say, if you stay by it, if the president decides that his rival is a corrupt person and he orders the military or orders someone to assassinate him, is that within his official acts that for which he can get immunity?
It would depend on the hypothetical.
Yeah, I heard Kavanaugh is in the Epstein files.
But we can see that could well be an official act.
They could, and why? Because he
Now listen to this. See, this is what it is. Yesterday I wasn't being clear. I just played this part because a lot of us are grown ass people and we can deduct. We're listening. We know what that means when they said that, right? But I decided now let me just go through that example a little more deeper so people get. If he can use that argument, the point is this: if this argument can be used, and it can be because it's law now, if that argument stands, it can easily be utilized in other ways for a broad set of circumstances that occur. That's the problem. So even though they frame it as a political opponent, when you look at practically how it would fit in the law and how you would have to execute against it, right? You see that, damn, if you can't execute against this, then there's a whole set of circumstances you can't execute against. That's the fucking problem. And what I'm saying is that did the Supreme Court, any of them, know anything about Jeffrey Epstein blackmailing Trump? I'm saying because could blackmail be one of those circumstances that this ruling stops you from prosecuting somebody killing a person, the president killing a person who blackmailed him? Could this law that they're discussing apply to any future prosecution on that situation? I'm just saying, I don't know. Even on record, sometimes these people, these presidents, as you could see, a lot of times it's not just the criminal cases that bother them. It's the fact that it's mere record, that on the record you go down like that. That, is doing something illegal or doing something Congress didn't like or doing something the Supreme Court didn't like, even if it's not criminally liable. You see what I mean? They don't like the admonishment, you see, on record, because that's the history records here. But, it's just a question I'm asking.
Is that within his official act or corrupt person, his rival, and your
click the like button, y'all. Thank you.
Answer below, I'm going to give you a chance to say, if you stay by it, if the president decides that his rival is a corrupt person and he orders the military or orders someone to assassinate him,
military or someone,
is that within his official acts that for which he can get immunity?
It would depend on the hypothetical, but we can see that could
it would depend on the hypothetical.
well be an official act.
It could well be an official act.
And why? Because he's doing it for personal reasons. He's not doing it like President Obama's
Now listen to this, right? Doing it for personal reasons, but even then, there's a problem.
alleged to have done it to protect the country from a terrorist. He's doing it for personal gain. And isn't that the nature of the allegations here? That he's not doing these acts in furtherance of an official responsibility. He's
Now listen to the response. Listen to the response the lawyer gives.
doing it for personal gain.
I agree with that characterization of the indictment, and that confirms immunity, because the characterization is that there's a series of official acts that were done for an unlawful.
No, because of
You hear that? You hear that?
personal gain.
I agree with that characterization of the indictment, and that confirms immunity, because the characterization is that there's a series of official acts that were done for an unlawful.
No, because
or improper
immunity says even if you did it for personal gain, we won't hold you responsible. How could that be?
That's an extremely strong doctrine in this court's case law in cases like Fitzgerald.
Well, we
Harlan,
go back
Johnson,
to
and so
Justice
forth.
Thomas's question, which was, where does that come from? There are amici here who tell us that the founders,
I mean, just keep in mind, before this conversation was happening, Epstein died in prison under Trump's administration. Biden comes into office and prosecutes Maxwell. And on Biden's way out, not in the beginning of his term, on the way out, the Supreme Court makes this ruling that they're discussing right here. And then another ruling later about him being able to run even though he's indicted. That can't be right. But let's stick with this one.
actually talked about whether to grant immunity to the president. And in fact, they had state constitutions that granted some criminal immunity to governors. And yet, they didn't take it up. Instead, they passed an impeachment clause that basically says you can't remove the president from office except by a trial in the Senate, but you can impeach him after. So.
And then they did what? Then they said the opposite once Biden left the office. No. You can't do that to Trump. He's already running. So you gotta impeach him after his term if he wins the election.
Or you can't.
I mean, we all know this was bullshit. And that's what I'm saying. Sorry, but they reduced the Constitution and the law to nothing. That's why I said in the beginning, this conversation, I'm not dissing Sotomayor. I respect her greatly, right? But what I'm just saying is how the Republicans have used and misused congressional law. They have bastardized it. They've done that. They've screwed it all up because the point in case is that no matter what, at the very least, they doing all this discussion about a person that's already a 34-time felon and had been known to be the best friend of the country's most prolific sex trafficking pedophile. You see what I mean? So that can't make sense at all. That can't make sense at all. You don't widen the possibility for a person that you know when you know the person that could very well end up being president is a 34-time, the person who's running for the presidency. Not even the person that could be, a person who's running and got the backing of the only other viable political party in the country who is likely giving you money under the table on the Supreme Court. That's what happened, you know. So they bullshitted a lot of people here, but watch.
And impose criminal liability. We would be creating a situation in which we would be saying, this is what you're asking us to say, which is that a president is entitled not to make a mistake, but more than that, a president is entitled for total personal gain to use the trappings of his office. That's what you're trying to get us to hold.
Are you
And that is exactly what happened. This was voted on by the Supreme Court, and what came into being? What came into being is this. Let's see here. Can y'all see this? There we go. President can now assassinate you officially, and they left little room for accountability in this. They left little room for you to be able to hold a president accountable for anything really. But what's crazy is this particular type of act. Now, let's take it over to Epstein. If the president saw Epstein, if he can frame it in any type of way, which I don't really think, oh, my camera's off. I don't really think there's a real legitimate way to frame it, but we're dealing with these Supreme Court justices. You see, that's who we're dealing with. They're the ones who just always seem to find a way to where, oh yeah, that might be presidential. You know what I'm saying? And even how they frame the law, it's like almost just the fact that he's the president doing it basically makes it a presidential act. You see? So let's go over to the Epstein thing real quick. Here we go. The president can now assassinate you under the new standard. The president can go, and this is an article from July 1st, right? So this is last year, but this is this is right when Biden was around the same time he was making that speech. Under this new standard, the president can go on a 4 to 8 year crime spree and then retire from public life, never to be held accountable. And they discussed all of this shit before they voted on it. And 6 people voted yes and 4 voted no, right? United States Supreme Court justices pose for their official blah, 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 blah. Okay. Donald Trump won. The Supreme Court today ruled that the presidents are entitled to absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts, then contended that pressuring the vice president and the Department of Justice to overthrow the government was an official act. Okay. Then said that talking to advisors or making public statements are official acts, as well as then determined that evidence of what presidents say and do cannot be used against them to establish that their acts are unofficial. Wow. The ruling, I mean, I'm sure you guys know what this says. Everybody out there, this is English. It doesn't work. We're not using legal language right here. This is plain English language. They're letting you know that what happened in that room means this. The legal language really comes down to this. Then said that talking to advisors or making public statements are official acts, as well as then determine that evidence of what presidents say and do cannot be used against them to establish that their acts are unofficial. So that basically means the president, even if he did murder you, he could not, and it was illegal, he can't be prosecuted. Other people can be, but he can't. And his own words can't be used against him. So there you have it. You see what I mean? So the people that commit these acts, they're in more danger. They're actually in danger because if you die, you can't speak. You can't speak. And Trump can always say, hey, you can't use my words against you. And you know he ain't going to speak anyway. You see what I mean? So again, just like I was saying yesterday, Jeffrey Epstein's brother asked, where are the people that were on Epstein's cell? Where are they? Where are they located? Who are they? What are their names? Because if you don't know their names, you don't know how they're doing. You don't know how they're doing. You don't know anything. If they're never even interviewed, I mean, come on, but in any case, the ruling on the Supreme Court was 6-3. Okay. It was 6-3 written by Chief Justice Roberts. So that's Roberts, Roberts is the guy whose wife, let me know if I'm wrong, isn't this the guy whose wife had the flag upside down while Jan 6 was happening? Am I correct on that? Let me know. I believe it was Justice Roberts' wife. In any case, on a straight party line vote, with the Republicans appointed justices joining to give the president the power of a king. So remember that, MAGA. It was all Republicans, right? And also remember that, independents. It was all Republicans. And remember that, Democrats, and remember that, people that are not associated to any specific party. While some parts of the federal indictment against Trump will be remanded back down to the district court's trial judge to determine whether any of Trump's actions were unofficial. Right. So that, you could apply this to anything that Trump has done, anything that a president does. They have these guardrails now in there. Number one, you can't use his words against him to prove it was an unofficial act. Whew. What the? Okay. That's how it is. That's how it's going to be. That's what they want. That's what they got. Okay. So now let's go into the specific example real quick. And then we're going to go back to the hot news that's the last 24 hours and Trump and all of this bullshit about Trump. Now Trump wants to release the Epstein files. He's really, really fighting hard to get the files released, but nobody's listening to him. Everybody's like, fuck Trump. Pam Bondi's like, fuck Trump. We ain't listening to Trump. He wants the files released. We ain't going to release them. We're going to wait for Congress to vote. Trump is like, I want them released, but let Congress deal with that. All right. So look, a person blackmailing. Let's put this whole thing in the context of a hypothetical, which is what they were arguing in the court before the ruling. Hypotheticals, how this would play out. A person blackmailing the president to force him to make certain rulings or take a certain official action. Remember, blackmail, right? That's how that would work against the president pretty much, right? I'm blackmailing you because I want you to do something while you're the president. Even if it's I want you to step down, you're the president stepping down, that counts, right? The president then orders that this person be stopped by all means. What does stop by all means mean? If you're blackmailing the sitting president, which basically Jeffrey Epstein admitted to, right? Or alluded to doing. Maybe that's more accurate. The key question, would the president be immune from prosecution if that order led to kidnapping, assault, or even killing? How do court rulings apply? Under the Supreme Court's 2024-25 immunity decision, if the president gives an order using official channels, directing DOJ, FBI, Department of Defense, or intelligence agencies, then that order might be classified as an official act. Click the like button, y'all, please. I only got 17 likes. It's like 300 people watching. Do me a favor, click the like button. And again, I'm sure that a lot of podcasters are going to start talking about this because this thing is circling back around now about who killed Jeffrey Epstein. Like people saying Jeffrey Epstein, it's impossible. People don't believe that he committed suicide, and neither does his brother. Right. So that's what I also follow that. I think it's bullshit. I don't think he killed himself. I've been saying that for a year. Like, come on. Chronologically, it looks like Trump killed him. Chronologically, if you just look at the timing of events, right? It's just like, damn, Trump became president. Epstein gets indicted. Epstein goes to jail in New York City, where Trump is from, and Epstein dies. Wow, what a convenient. And now you get in the emails where it's talking about he's insinuating that he's blackmailing the dude. Okay. So in any case, I hope y'all click the like button now. Okay, now, then that order might be classified as an official act. And the court said official acts are absolutely immune from prosecution. Evidence involving official acts cannot even be used in a court to prove a crime. You understand this? This is the very danger Sotomayor highlighted. Two scenarios the court's majority creates. If the president uses government power to now keep in mind in the Supreme Court, if any case that's being disputed, any official act, any act that Trump does will go in front of the Supreme Court. It's 6 Republicans. Do you think they're going to vote against him? Do you think they're going to try? Have they shown you that they're willing to do anything to hold Trump accountable for any act? So just in lieu of that, they can do whatever the hell they want to do at the end of the day. But according to the law that they argued and talked about, and claimed that they're interested in reviewing, following the law, they want to make sure they following the law, right? Because they don't want to be criminals, right? Even though this looks criminal as hell. Right? If you know the law, this looks like they setting a criminal up to do criminal shit. Now, 2 scenarios the court majority creates. If the president uses government, damn, what happened? Did it move? Right. If the president, where is it at? Oh, okay. Damn. Sorry about that. I skipped. Okay. If the president steps outside of formal channels. Okay. No. All right. 2 scenarios. Here we go. If the president uses government power to stop the blackmailer, i.e., Jeffrey Epstein, directing the FBI to deal with the blackmailer, ordering the CIA or military to intervene, telling the DOJ to neutralize the threat, using secret services or federal agents beyond legal limits. Under the new immunity doctrine, this could be labeled an official act because the president is responding to a national security or criminal threat. Right. So it doesn't have to be national security. Blackmail is a criminal threat. Therefore, the president could be immune, even if the action results in unlawful violence or death. This is exactly why Sotomayor raised hypotheticals involving ordering SEAL Team 6 to kill someone. If the president steps outside of formal channels, isn't that just a coincidence, y'all? Don't you think that's a hell of a coincidence, if it's a coincidence at all? Don't you think that's a hell of a coincidence? I mean, I don't believe in coincidences. Even if it is, maybe it is a coincidence. But typically, I don't believe in coincidence, especially when dealing with criminal folks, and big money people. If the president steps out of formal channels, for example, hiring a private contractor, mercenary, calling a friend or associate, using a criminal intermediary, this is not necessarily immune because it might be considered personal, not official. But prosecutors still may not be able to introduce crucial evidence if it relates to presidential official duties. You see what I'm saying? So, and you've seen how Trump has argued this shit the whole time. These people working for Trump argue everything is official. Can't discuss that. There's an ongoing hearing going on, so we can't discuss that evidence. I can't discuss that. I wouldn't do that. That's president and blah 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 lawyer. Whatever they call it, privacy or whatever the hell. What's the term they use? Confidentiality. They got all kinds of reasons why they ain't talking about shit. The president gives an official speech or official memo declaring the blackmailer a national threat. The official act cannot be used as evidence to prove motive or intent. Right. And we saw that happen when Trump left the White House with all those national security files. Right. What happened to him? He done said a million times, and I didn't do anything to make these unclassified. So what happened? Nothing. You see how flip-flopping Trump is anyway? So even if he goes down this road, even if he went down the illegal road, just the road of hiring a hitman, it is highly unlikely under these laws that you would be able to prosecute Trump. It's highly unlikely. You would have to find a hitman and get them to go on record. But they're not even, someone could pardon Trump. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. J.D. Vance could pardon Trump. Even if you find out that he did hire a hitman. The only people that don't have an incentive to show up, that really have an incentive not to show up, are the people who did it. Because they won't have immunity. And not likely in every case. You know what I mean? You did that in New York City. Damn, like, can the state go about it? I don't know. But in any case, it seems to me like you ain't got a chance with this Supreme Court of convicting Donald Trump for murder, period. Okay? Especially if they, dealing with blackmail. They've already pretty much established that. Okay. Now let's see here. Sotomayor warning about the following could become unprosecutable. Ordering lethal force under the cover of an official directive, using national security language to classify a personal enemy as a threat, shielding presidential intent behind the immunity for official acts. Her exact concern, the president could commit crimes, including murder, simply by packaging them as official duties. Applying it back to your scenario. If the president said the blackmailer threatens my ability to perform presidential duties, stop them by any means necessary. If he uses government power, likely immune. Okay. The court has created a structure where, so in other words, let's say he called the CIA and said, neutralize the threat. That's no exact language, but neutralize the threat. Let's say they go out and take that to mean get rid of him. Right. But the mere fact that he used the CIA, I don't think he could be prosecuted now of that. It doesn't sound like it. You see, if he uses official channels, right? See? Hold on here. If he uses government power like immunity, then, okay, the court has created a structure where intent cannot be examined, official acts cannot be prosecuted, key evidence cannot be introduced. Key evidence cannot be introduced. If he has a private actor, less likely immune, but still hard to prosecute because evidence of his official responses cannot be used to show a motive. So, bottom line, under the court ruling, a president could potentially avoid prosecution if he ordered government agents to violently stop a blackmailer. So as long as he frames the order as part of his official duties, this is exactly the scenario Sotomayor was warning could turn a president into a monarch or strongman with lethal authority shielded by immunity. Okay, so there you have it. Now, let's go back. Let's see here. Now on to the news. So I just thought that was worth viewing. Do you think it was a coincidence? Do you think any of these judges, right, had any idea about Jeffrey Epstein and what he was doing, potentially blackmailing Trump? Do you think any of them had Jeffrey Epstein in mind when this hearing came about? Like, do you think they had any forward knowledge? Let me know. If you do, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't, put a 2 in the chat. It's a stretch. It can be a stretch, but then again, I never count things out because there are corrupt officials and you're dealing with corruption. That's exactly what we are dealing with right now, so no doubt about it. And we talking about corruption on the highest level. Yeah. So this is Ben Marcellus, Midas Touch, right? Midas Touch Ben. Now listen to this. He's again, this is more Epstein shit. All of this stuff is tied in whether people like it or not. The Supreme Court gave Trump all the latitude many times, already knowing he's a deviant, pretty much, already knowing he's a criminal, already knowing he's committed acts that otherwise would be called treasonous if any of us did it. Somehow he got off and was allowed to run to be the president. It got paused, his criminal hearings, so he could run for president again. wouldn't you be so happy if you had that kind of luck? You know what I mean? Wouldn't everyone love that luck? I would love to carry that kind of luck with me. You know what I'm saying? When just you got to wait to prosecute me. I'm running for office. I filled out my papers to run for councilman last week. You got to pause that damn trial. That's interfering. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell? That shit is bullshit. But in any case, now back to Trump's lawyer and back to more Epstein shit. Here we go.
A pretty damning, incriminating, stunning admission by Donald Trump's deputy attorney.
Trump's shit is all falling apart. It's all falling apart. They have backed themselves into a corner they can't get out of. I mean, Trump could get out of. He could get out of because, pardon. You could pardon him. Everything he's doing, he's the president. You see what I mean? You could pardon him all day long. You see what I mean? But everybody else, oh my goodness.
General after being baited by a social media post by George Conway. George Conway criticized Todd Bland, Trump's deputy attorney general, criminal defense attorney, and the questioning that was being done to Ghislaine Maxwell a few months back.
Can y'all see that?
At that
Hold on. Let me make that bigger.
media post.
2 seconds. Let me make that bigger so y'all can see this. Here we go.
By George Conway. George Conway criticized Todd Bland, Trump's deputy attorney general, criminal defense attorney, and the questioning that was being done to Ghislaine Maxwell a few months back at that Tallahassee facility when there was that interview between Ghislaine and Trump's DOJ. And George Conway's like, dude, why didn't you ask Ghislaine any follow-up questions? Why weren't you prepared? Like, you see all these emails coming out that shows that Ghislaine was like playing you and she was like lying about everything and she was acting like she didn't know anything about Trump. But all of these
emails have destroyed them, and everything else from those Epstein files is going to destroy them. But this is, it's ridiculous because just the emails alone show that everything they did, it's basically they're in a conspiracy. It may not be able to be prosecuted as a criminal conspiracy, but they seem to always side against what is logical and obvious.
emails. It's her and Epstein saying pretty specific things about Donald Trump. And if you just do an analysis of the Epstein emails that dropped, like from these emails, Donald Trump appears in like more than half of them. I mean, just think about that. Trump's name in the Epstein emails is in more than half of them. Wall Street Journal, the threads, that's how they email, that's how they analyze this. Of 2,324 email threads.
God damn. Listen to this.
A pretty damning, incriminating, stunning admission by Donald Trump's deputy attorney general after being baited by a social media post by George Conway. George Conway criticized Todd Bland, Trump's deputy attorney general.
Yo, click the like button. Hold on. Let's get back to the part where they talk about how many emails, what percentage of the emails are all about Trump.
Defense attorney a few months back at that Tallahassee facility when there was that interview between Ghislaine and Trump's DOJ. And George Conway's like, dude, why didn't you ask Ghislaine any follow-up questions? Why weren't you prepared? Like, you see all these emails coming out that shows that Ghislaine was like,
all the emails contradict everything that she said in the meeting with Tom Blanche, number 2 of the Justice Department. So this fool went down there, interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell. She was lying all over the place. He gave no pushback, no follow-up questions, no nothing. And he just wrapped that shit up in a nice, pretty package and was like, see, she said it was all okay. She said she never seen nothing. And then all of a sudden the emails with Epstein and all of this shit come out his own words and other people. Bingo, bust them. I mean, this is just, I don't see how they're getting. I mean, again, the Supreme Court will let them all out of everything. We know that. There will be no justice without some impeachments on a Supreme Court level. I mean, and this is egregious. Like, and they would look to help people and stop them from being prosecuted. You know what I'm saying? Like, This is clearly an abuse of power. This is clearly covering up sex trafficking. This is clearly trying to get someone a get free out of jail card for fucking sex trafficking and blackmailing. But the Supreme Court would do it.
Like playing you, and she was like lying about everything, and she was acting like she didn't know anything about Trump. But all of these emails, it's her and Epstein saying pretty specific things about Donald Trump. And if you just do an analysis of the Epstein emails that dropped, like from these emails, Donald Trump appears in like more than half of them. I mean, just think about
more than half of them.
That Trump's
And how many is that?
name in the Epstein emails is in more than half of them. Wall Street Journal, the threads, that's how they analyze this. Of 2,324 email threads.
What?
Trump's name
2,000? And his name is in more than half of them?
appears in 1,670 of them.
Damn! What the? I mean, he is the Epstein files, basically. Trump is the Epstein files. What the? I mean, how bad could it be? How bad could it be?
They analyzed this. Of 2,324 email threads, Trump's name appears in 1,670 of them. So George Conway asks a pretty reasonable question, and he didn't even pose this like, he didn't even go, hey, Todd Blanche, answer this. He just put it into the universe. Here's what George Conway says. An important side note about today's Epstein-Trump revelations. They show that Todd Blanche's questioning of Ghislaine Maxwell, A, completely incompetent, or B, intentionally crafted not to elicit facts incriminating Trump. Either way, he's not fit to serve as Deputy Attorney General of the United States. Now, if I were the Deputy Attorney General and somebody said, regardless of the circumstance, and I'm not even saying this case, just talk about something else, why would I be responding on a social media platform? I'm the Deputy AG. I'm the number 2 person in the Department of Justice. But this
is just outrageous.
Trump regime, they are glued to social media. So Todd Blanche responds to this. And he goes, George, you've never been confused for a trial. And these kinds of posts explain why. When I interviewed Maxwell, law enforcement didn't have the materials Epstein estate hid for years and only just provided to Congress.
Hello, it's your job to seize the material, dumbass. And how much time did they have to seize the material? They didn't even want the material. That's the even more insane part of it. They weren't even looking for the shit. Look, you got Michael Wolff. Michael Wolff has been showing his ass every day. We got more dirt on Trump every fucking single day. For how long now? For over a year? Even more? Multiple years? Just showing. But since Trump came in office, this has been every day, right? He's out there saying, I got tape recordings of Epstein. I got hours and hours and hours of recordings with Epstein where he's showing me pictures of little girls with Trump. And then he's like, yo, I got hours and hours with Trump too, recorded with Trump also. And they're like, we don't want that. Nah, fuck that. We don't stop telling us all of this stuff. We don't want it. So if they refuse to even interview a guy that's been dropping jewels on Trump's ass every day and claims to back it up with audio recordings, all of his interviews, then they weren't even looking for to get anything from Epstein's estate. You see what I mean? Like, if you're not listening to the guy who's waving it in your face every day, like, oh, look at this. Trump said, yeah, I saw Epstein pull out some pictures of Trump with little girls. If they won't interview the dude who says that, then of course they're not looking for anything,
Stop talking. It's unbecoming. Now, Todd Blanche.
Anyway, so obviously they don't want to know nothing. It's not even are they not trying to release the Epstein files. They don't want to know shit about Epstein, period. They didn't want to know. They don't want to know. They want to stop people from talking about it. They really want people to just stop talking about it. It's over. This is something Trump cannot explain, and he wants people to stop. You know what I mean? Like, straight up. Why? because obviously there's something very, very bad there that's there, you know? Now, in any case, Trump has changed his whole idea. His whole concept is, you know, the Jedi mind trick. Now he wants to release all the files. He's okay. But the only problem is that he could release the files right this second himself. He could order it to be released, but that's not what he's doing. He's talking about, yeah, I agree with Congress after we had to wait how long to get 208 signatures on a disposition just to get a vote. And now he's talking about, yeah, he agrees with Congress, but there's no vote yet. He's waiting still for a vote to approve it, but he agrees with Congress. But yet the only reason why anyone has to go through all this other shit is because they refuse to release the files. So, yeah, you tell me what it is.
We want to take you now to the White House where President Trump is taking questions following an event with members of the 2020.
And he says some nasty things, but look at how effed up Trump looks.
26 FIFA World Cup Task Force.
So I'm very honored to have it. And we have the Olympics coming too. That'll be great. And the 250 is going to be right out on the lawn. You're going to have a UFC event.
You can tell
Dana White and his people. He's going to have the
talking
greatest
some
card
garbage.
they've ever assembled.
But you can tell that Trump has had a rough goddamn day. Look at this guy. He looks beaten up totally.
I'm very honored to have it. And we have the Olympics coming too. That'll be great. And the 250 is going to be right out on the lawn. You're going to have a UFC event with Dana White and his people. He's going to have the greatest card they've ever assembled.
Man, fuck the UFC. What the hell is he talking? He's talking about people's goddamn tax dollars, and he's like, we're going to have a UFC fight out there. Like, okay, what the fuck? Why are you talking about that?
I was talking to Dana White the other day, and they're going to have the greatest card they've ever assembled, Johnny. So you'll be sitting up there with me, Darren. We'll be watching it. So right opposite the front door of the White House. It's going to be on June 14th. So it's really going to be an amazing period of time. But this is something very, very special.
That's next year. What the hell?
World Cup. All my life I've heard about it. Yeah.
Mr. President, I have a question
This is bullshit.
about Venezuela, but can I just first ask, the health of the president's always news. Your voice sounds a little rough. Are you feeling all right?
I feel great. I was shouting at people because they were stupid
He was shouting at people. I bet he was.
about something having to do with
Look at
yelling
that.
people.
I mean, you could tell in his speech, he doesn't want to tell you what it's about. He says it. He says they were stupid about something. He doesn't say they were stupid about this and la la la. He just tells you something, but that's something he doesn't want to tell you what it is. So he comes with his lies instantly, though. So he always got a backup lie in the pocket.
An amazing period of time, but this is something very, very special.
Look at him shrug his shoulders too. That's interesting.
So it's
Look,
right opposite.
in terms of his body language, you get a lot from Trump.
So you'll be sitting
And his speech patterns and his eyes. And once people get a chance to study him for a while, you know, you can see it. You can see it, you know.
up there with me, Darren.
Trump's in the private industry. Trump's never had to deal with television like that. But in politics, you have to deal, you know, when you become a government servant and, you know, particularly a president or something like that, people get to watch you physically, you know, respond. So, yeah.
We'll be watching it. So right opposite the front door of the White House. It's going to be on June 14th. So it's really going to be an amazing period of time. But
Yeah, he must have had a breakdown. You know, he must have had a serious breakdown when these Epstein files. Of course, you're hearing a lot of people say it's the Epstein files. These Epstein files are getting to him. Yeah, it fucking looks like that. And getting to him, no, it's worse than that. Like, this guy is probably just having a narcissistic moment, a moment where he's in a corner. You know, when you get narcissists like this in a corner, you know, they're very agile when you don't have them in a corner. They come with lies instantly, got a new lie, already got you figured out on what you would want, what kind of lies will work for a person like you. Like, they're very good at that, being very slippery, you know, barely any conscience at all. But when you get them in a corner, the real person comes out. You know, the real one comes out. And I bet anybody would love to have seen Trump in that moment. I mean, I bet it's hell. I bet it is hell because You're dealing with a person likely that knows the dirtiest things about him are about to be exposed, and they're not nice. You know, shit with little kids are not nice, but I'm pretty sure there's more stuff, you know. So Trump he's afraid because all that dirt he's been doing for many years with Epstein likely is about to come out. You see what I mean? And all the people involved, which he probably have a lot to do with, is about to come out. In other words, you know, he's feeling like a ringleader because he's been out here in the public claiming to be a totally different person, leading the public in a different direction than what he really is likely about. You see what I mean? And now it's about to get pulled. The wig is about to get pulled off. The carpet is about to be pulled from under his feet publicly. You know, so I'm pretty sure this was a real goddamn moment. Listen to this guy's voice. He sounds like he's been in a fight. You know, like the fight of his life and shit.
We'll be watching it. So right opposite the front door of the White House. It's going to be on June 14th. So it's really going to be an amazing period of time. But
I mean, has anybody ever had their ass beat? You know what I mean? Do you follow me? Like your ass beat or the worst day of your fucking life. And then all of a sudden you have to talk to other people. You know what I mean? Like this is what it looked like.
This is something very, very special. World Cup. All my life I've heard about it. Yep.
Mr. President, I have a question about Venezuela, but can I just first ask, the health of the president's always news. Your voice sounds a little rough. Are you feeling all right?
I feel great. I was shouting at people because...
yeah, why? Why you been shouting at people?
They were stupid about something.
Stupid about something. So that's the closest you're going to get from the truth from a narcissist, you know, but he's got to come and spit something out real quick, you know, to cover that up.
Having to do with,
I mean, he's doing a fucking horrible job at, in other words, nobody fucking believes you, Trump. This is crazy. Nobody believes Trump. He's doing a horrible time with what appears to be lying to the public, which he don't give a damn about anyway, but it's looking real bad.
Life I've heard about it. Yep.
Mr. President, I have a question about Venezuela, but can I just first ask?
I just slowed it down. I want to see his body language and his voice, his speech pattern.
The health of the president's always news. Your voice sounds a little rough. Are you feeling all right?
I feel great. I was shouting at...
You feel great? He's looking down when he says he feels great.
Very, very special. World Cup. All my life I've heard about it. Yep.
Mr. President, I have a question about Venezuela, but can I just first ask, the health of the president's always news. Your voice sounds a little rough. Are you feeling all right?
I feel great.
You see that? So looking down, you know, that could very well likely be a lie. I mean, you know, he's not looking in your eyes telling you, I feel great. Hey, y'all, I feel great. Or is it, I feel great? Which one you want? Which one do you believe? You know what I'm saying?
Mr. President, I have a question about Venezuela, but can I just first ask, the health of the president's always news. Your voice sounds a little rough. Are you feeling all right?
I feel great. I was shouting at people because they were stupid about something having to do with...
can't get it out of his mouth. Don't know what that's all about. In any case, so he was lying his ass off there. It appears he was lying his ass off. But in any case, yeah. Now let's get on to it. There's supposed to be, let's see here, texts that have, what does it say? Documents uncover Jeffrey Epstein text Democrats during the deposition of Trump's ex-attorney. Goddamn.
Where the House was questioning.
All right, let's take a look at this. And this is reported by Fox News. But as I said, you know, you can induct things. You can get, you know, I listen to any of this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? For me, you have to use your brain and compile facts and navigate through shit that's not necessarily that relevant. But listen to this. This is Fox reporting, and this is in the last 7 hours.
Questioning Michael Cohen, Plaskett was communicating with Jeffrey Epstein. To be clear, this is years and years after he was convicted.
Why do they have this dumbass music in the background? This is Sky News. Okay, here we go. Sorry, this is Sky News reporting on Fox. Here we go.
House was questioning Michael Cohen. Plaskett was communicating with Jeffrey Epstein. To be clear, this is years and years after he was convicted in 2008 of soliciting a minor.
Years and years and years after. They are really trying to come out now and cap for Epstein to make it seem like nothing was, that all of this shit is a lie in front of all these victims. It's crazy.
Plaskett was texting
all the emails
with Epstein that morning, the morning of the hearing that was aired on C-SPAN. She texted with Epstein. He'll talk about his grades. Epstein responded, "What privilege stands behind the non-release of college transcripts?" He then says, "Great outfit. You look great." All caps. Plaskett replied, "Thanks." It goes on. At 10:41 a.m., Epstein, ever the weirdo, texts her, "Are you chewing?" Plaskett responds, "Not anymore. Chewing interiors of my mouth. Bad habit from middle school." Then Epstein asks when Plaskett's turn for questioning Cohen will come up. And she replies, "Hours. Go to other meetings." But then we get to the meeting. Then we get to her turn. Then we get to the questioning of Cohen. And Epstein tells her, "Cohen brought up Rona, keeper of secrets." Plaskett doesn't know who Rona is. You don't know who Rona is. And Rona's in all caps. So Plaskett responds at 2:25 p.m., "Rona?" Then she says, "Quick, I'm up next. Is that an acronym?" Then finally Epstein responds, "That's his assistant."
Okay. Okay. Newly released documents have revealed that the sex trafficker and pedo, what does that say? Pedophile Jeffrey Epstein text a Democrat. Okay. I don't know what the relevance of it is. You know, they're trying to set something up here. Epstein's estate released the documents that show Democratic Representative Stacey Plaskett, right, was messaging a pedophile. Right. So this is how desperate they are, essentially, you know. And now, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's anything wrong with releasing the information, but this is all in light of the fact that Trump doesn't want to release the Epstein files. So, you know, in some kind of way, it's like, okay, you don't want to talk about anything else, but then when it comes to Democrats, you're willing to talk about it. It's bullshit. Okay, this shouldn't be a Democrat Republican issue. This should be an American citizen issue. American citizens, whether they're Democrat, whether they're Republican, whether they're independent or non-affiliated, right? Just being a citizen, even if you didn't goddamn vote ever in your life, this concerns you, these Epstein files. And what they've been able to do is turn it into like a political thing where suddenly it's supposed to matter who, from what party, not even who, but from what party. That's what this conversation is turned into. You see what I mean? And of course, is a goddamn distraction, but this shows you the lengths that they're doing. Now, you just saw the example before. You don't see Fox News or Sky News talking about the Epstein files and how it exposes Blanche meeting. No, they don't do that. They're looking for a Democrat that talked to Epstein. So let's see what else she said in this conversation. Hopefully they mention it, right? No, they don't. Not yet. Okay, this is moving slowly. Okay, here we go. Plaskett was messaging. I mean, we saw it. We saw it. There's nothing else to this. There's nothing else to it. Look. Questioning Cohen began at 2:28 p.m. before that Epstein commented on the congresswoman's great outfit. Okay, hold on. Let me see here. Following the publishing of the Washington Post article last Friday, Plaskett office released a statement. Okay, right. Plaskett confused by misspelling of the Rona. Okay, we saw that too. Now, oh my God, listen to this shit. This shit is crazy. Oh my God, Dirtbag made some statements. Now let's see here. What did Trump say? Did Trump say anything here?
I do want to say, here's what I want. We have nothing to do with Epstein. The Democrats do.
So that was their Democrat that they got right there.
All of his friends were Democrats.
Why would he even frame it as Democrats? That's what I don't understand. I mean, he's showing you that for him, it's a partisan issue. Obviously, he doesn't see it as a victim issue. The women outside, he doesn't know if they're Republican, the victims, right? The women that have been gathering on the steps of the Congress for the last month, he doesn't know if any of them are Republican or Democrat.
You look at this Reid Hoffman, you look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, they went to his island all the time, and many others, they're all Democrats. All I want for people to recognize the great job that I've done on price.
All right, so let's go to Dershowitz.
Once all of these files are released.
We know everything we're going to learn. There are still a few files that have been suppressed by the courts, not by the government, but by the courts. Judges have kept some depositions secret. But I think we know almost everything that we're going to learn, and the Democrats are going to blame the Republicans are going to blame the Democrats, and we should all be blaming Jeffrey Epstein. He's the guy who did all this terrible stuff.
Look, this is so hypocritical.
I was not only
listen to
his
this.
lawyer.
Listen to this.
Because the Republicans are going to blame the Democrats, and we should all be blaming Jeffrey Epstein. He's the guy who did all this terrible stuff.
Yeah.
Now, you heard him say that. Dershowitz said that. Now, look at how hypocritical Dirshbag is. Look at this. This is ridiculous. I mean, just the mere fact that he could say this. Hold on, can y'all see this? Boom. All right. So look at this. Look at what Dirshbag did. This is crazy. He says, on one hand, we should all be blaming Epstein, right? On one hand, right? But on the other hand, let's go here. Let's see here. Where is it at? Is it here? Oops. Nope. Oh, there we go. Now, but on the other hand, this is his other comment, which completely contradicts it. It's really scary, actually, how he would do that so easily. But let's see here. Where is it at? Is it here? Where's Dirshbag at? Here we go. It's right here. Check this out. Take a listen. Where's the audio at? Here we go.
Professor on your show described Jeffrey Epstein as a convicted pedophile. He pleaded guilty to one count of having sex for money with a 17-year and 10-month-old person. That's not pedophile. He pleaded guilty to one count of having sex for money with a 17-year and 10-month-old person. That's not pedophile. Not pedophile. Pedophile. Example.
All
10
right.
minutes before. Well,
Let's hear that one more time. Look at this. So you can see he's making conflicting statements in mass media, in legacy media. I mean, and these statements aren't days apart. These aren't really dead. This is like a week ago, no more than 7 days apart.
Well, let me give you an example. 10 minutes before you went on, the predecessor on your show described Jeffrey Epstein as a convicted pedophile. He pleaded guilty to one count of having sex for money with a 17-year and 10-month-old person. That's not pedophile.
Right. So he says that. He says that's not pedophile. That's his words, right? And then when you go over to this one, he says something completely different.
I was, and it's not by the government, but by the courts. Judges have kept some depositions secret. But I think we know almost everything that we're going to learn, and the Democrats are going to blame the Republicans are going to blame the Democrats, and we should all be blaming Jeffrey Epstein. He's the guy who did all this terrible stuff.
Yeah.
I was not only his lawyer, I was also Donald Trump's lawyer. So
You hear this, right? I mean, you can deduct a lot from this. First of all, he makes two completely, totally different, contradictory statements. Let me play the first statement back again so you can hear it. This is what he said.
Pleaded guilty to one count of having, well, let me give you an example. 10 minutes before you went on, the predecessor on your show described Jeffrey Epstein as a...
Do me a favor, click the like button, y'all, please. It's like 400 people watching. I got 43 likes. Come on, y'all. Let's do it.
Convicted pedophile. He pleaded guilty to, well, let me give you an example. 10 minutes before you went on, the predecessor on your show described Jeffrey Epstein as a convicted pedophile. He pleaded guilty to one count of having sex for money with a 17-year and 10-month-old person. That's not pedophile. He pleaded guilty to one count of having sex for money with a 17-year and 10-month-old person. That's not pedophile. Not pedophile.
Okay. And then you have this one.
Democrats, and we should all be blaming Jeffrey Epstein. He's the guy who did all this terrible stuff.
Yeah.
Deposition. Courts, not by the government, but by the courts, judges have kept some depositions secret. But I think we know almost everything that we're going to learn, and the Democrats are going to blame the Republicans are going to blame the Democrats, and we should all be blaming Jeffrey Epstein. He's the guy who did all this terrible stuff.
Yeah.
I was not only...
He didn't call it terrible stuff a week ago. He was like capping for like Jeffrey Epstein. Like all it was sex with a 17 or almost 17-year-old. That's it, Your Honor. That's it. Why are you guys tripping on him? He's only been convicted of that. And she was almost 17. And now he's like the guy who did all this horrible stuff. And then he admits to you again, he was the lawyer for, look at this. Who's he the lawyer for?
Democrats are going to blame the Republicans.
See, that's the narrative. So again, they are doing that, but don't be distracted when he says that, because that's his cover. Look, this man advocated for the legal age to be something like what? Don't quote me, but I believe it was something like 14 years old, 14 or 15, maybe 15. I don't know, but seriously.
Republicans are going to blame the Democrats, and we should all be blaming Jeffrey Epstein. He's the guy who did all this terrible stuff.
Yeah.
I was not only his lawyer, I was also Donald Trump's lawyer. So I see all sides of this issue. That's what lawyers do. We represent people without regard to whether we agree with them or disagree.
Wow. So he was Epstein and Trump's lawyer, and he's saying two completely different things in one week's time, pretty much, generally speaking, in legacy media, in mass media, making two totally conflicting statements. So you can obviously see there's a lot to this, and a lot of people are implicated, and he's implicated. He's in the damn Epstein files. He was on the flight, but you see, or maybe not cover it up. He implies that because he's the lawyer, right? Because he's the lawyer, that's why he's everywhere Epstein is. And that, of course, it couldn't have anything to do with him doing anything illegal, while at the same time, the guy advocates for the reduction of the legal age. You know, he wants it to be brought down. I mean, so what kills me the most is how this is the best legacy media has. What's going on here? Come on. This is the best legacy media has, because they could catch him on those statements. I mean, of course they won't. This is Sky News, right? The other station was what was that? I forget which station that was that I got that from. But what's going on here? Is the stream still working? All right. Okay. I'm back now. I'm back. Sorry about that. I was having some difficulty on the back end. All right. So you see that, right? So he's in the center of this too, essentially. And he's in the public doing the same thing. If I was him, I wouldn't say a goddamn thing. I mean, this is his problem, because it's unraveling. I mean, these people, I think it's really, really bad, because if you see how casually they will just make contradictory statements like they're not on TV, you can kind of get an idea of how many other things they likely could be doing, thinking that nobody notices. You see what I mean? That no one can figure it out. And for him to be a lawyer doing this, I think it really just shows that it shows that there's a lot more corruption around. You know, you get numb once you get in a corrupt circle, and when you get away with things over and over, it kind of jades your vision. To me, it seems like that's pretty much what is happening with Dershowitz here. He's going to be another fallen link to the Epstein files, as it appears. But
of the Middle East became
and here's stupid ass Trump. He's going out there with his broken voice and everything, talking about McDonald's. Is like, damn, dude. Anything to distract from the Epstein files has got to be McDonald's.
President Donald Trump has called on House Republicans to release the files related to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in a major turnaround from his previous position. He wrote in a Truth Social post that, quote, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide. I don't care, he said, about the release. This major shift comes as dozens of Republicans signaled they were ready to break ranks and vote to release.
So how many of y'all think this is going to be the end of Donald Trump? Put a 1 in the chat if you think it's going to be the end. Just these Epstein files is going to end it for him. End can be whatever. It means he's going to be either lame duck or he's going to be impeached. Put a 1 in the chat if you think these Epstein files are going to get him impeached. Now, keep in mind, impeachment is not criminal. You don't go to jail for being impeached. He could still be pardoned. Right. But if he's fully impeached in both houses, then he will be removed. Right. So put a 1 in the chat if you think these Epstein files are going to be the end. Put a 2 in if you don't think it's going to quite be that.
Release the documents. Well, for more on this, let's bring in Scott Lucas here. He's a professor of American Studies at University College Dublin. He joins us from Wicklow in Ireland. So, Scott, until now, Trump has been against the release of the Epstein files. Why this turnaround?
Well, Terry, that's the easiest question of the day, because Donald Trump knew that on Tuesday he would lose the vote in the House, the lower chamber of the U.S. Congress, over the release of the files, and he might lose it by an embarrassing amount. Although only 4 Republicans joined the Democrats to force this vote, many more were just waiting for it to come, and then they would basically put their heads above the parapet.
So when you guys wake up, when you guys in the U.S. wake up, right, the first thing you're going to see is the news about what this vote was, because this vote is today. It is in, let me see here. There's about 6 in them. Yo, the vote is in a couple of hours. This vote is in a couple of hours, maybe 8 hours from now. They're having this vote, 9 hours. 8 hours they will be assembling in the Congress. Maybe 9 hours from now they'll be assembling in the Congress, right? And 10 hours from now they'll be voting, pretty much. So when you guys wake up in the U.S., we will get the news on this. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, although it would have to go over to the Senate and all of that, and then Trump have to sign it. My view of this is fuck it. Stop playing nice. Fuck these files. You already know that. I'm not saying fuck the files forever. I'm just saying regarding Trump, you already know that it's bad enough. Just move to impeach him. Save the American people money. This is our tax money. We're the ones who have to live through this. This dude has fought the release of these files. That's enough. That is enough. Why do we have to go through more votes? If we're going to go through votes, let's go through some impeachment votes. Like, get rid of this scumbag first, then go back to talk about the Epstein files. You see what I mean? And find out and go through and have hearings. But you don't need to do all of that to impeach him. This dude is shady. He's dirty. He's in them. That's enough. How much more would you have to find out about a person to impeach them? To impeach a president, he doesn't have to commit a crime. He just has to be looking real bad, like not representing what the office is supposed to be about, period. And that could look a lot of different ways. You see what I mean? And obviously this would be one of the things when you're fighting the release of files that you're in and the allegation is pedophilia and blackmail. Sorry, buddy. We don't need to hear you tell us your version of the story. Just get rid of the dude, come on.
And vote for the release of the files. That's not the end of the.
This is like slow walking the people. If you ask me, I think it's a good effort. But now that the man has said release the files, and you know that he really doesn't want the files released, that's enough. He's already condemned himself. He said he didn't want these files released so many times. He said he don't want to talk about the files so many times. He said fuck these victims every single day that he's woke up, metaphorically. You know, he says it's a hoax. He doesn't care nothing about these victims. That's enough to impeach him.
Spin and say with words he supports something that he is not doing. That type of secrecy over a sex trafficking case with Trump, which Trump and his attorney general and FBI director had all claimed they would be the saviors, and they turned out to be the people hiding it. That kind of double talk is
and that also
angered even Republicans.
I stand with these women. I stand with rape victims. I believe the country deserves transparency in these files, and I don't believe that rich, powerful people should be protected.
Mr. President, Representative Massey says he's concerned that the Epstein probe you are calling for could be a smokescreen to block the release of more files. Is that the case?
Well, I don't want to talk about it because fake news.
That's the pressure.
So everybody's doing fake news, you know. So now Bondi, now he's saying he wants, you know, he can't figure out what his messaging is going to be. He can't figure out if he believes that it's real, that these files really exist, and that people are in it doing bad things, or if it's all a Democrat hoax. He can't figure out. On one hand, he wants investigations on Democrats and the Epstein files because he thinks something bad happened, but he doesn't want to release the files, not by his own doing. He wants to be forced to. He wants votes to happen. You know, it's just Trump is all over the goddamn place with this. He just is not standing firm on anything. So, I mean, in my view, release it. This is it. It's enough. All of this. Everyone is looking. There's no way you can look at Trump and see that he is not capitulating 100% on everything that he has said, that he's not backtracking. Trump has just flip-flopped the entire time. He has insulted the victims. It's just enough. As far as the American people are concerned, it should be enough for impeachment. And in my view, every single congressional member that's not calling for impeachment right now is fucked up. Like, you're just fucked up. You know, you're literally wasting people's tax dollars, man. Come on. Come on. Is this the best you could do for the U.S. to have this conversation? Like, you know, something is very, very bad and screwed up with this man ethically and morally on a deep, deep level. And you still haven't called for his impeachment?
Away from the midterms, and the House is set to vote on whether to release the Epstein files tomorrow. For many.
Okay, they voted. They're going to vote.
So, in the Oval Office this afternoon, President Trump was asked directly, do you want the Senate to pass this, and would you sign it? Matt, he didn't really say anything that was definitive on that particular specific question.
Yeah, it's been really remarkable over the last 48 hours or so from President Trump, where after weeks, if not months, of him whipping on the Hill, pushing back on the release of these files and on this effort by
and by whipping, we mean pressuring Republicans to vote no.
Opposing the effort
yes.
by Republicans, yes, by Democrats and some outstanding Republicans, such as Congressman Thomas Massey and his erstwhile ally, Marjorie Taylor Greene, to release these files. Now that it seems that after maybe 50 to 100, we were hearing Republican members of Congress may have backed the effort to support this. He's now seemingly changed his tune and said that this is something that he can get behind, as long as, with multiple caveats we should note, but also equivocated on whether or not, now that you're seeing some Republican senators be pressured on this, including some allies like Senator Rick Scott and others.
I mean, they're just wasting time with it now. They're wasting time. They're wasting time with it. They all need to fucking be impeached. You know, they all need to be impeached. You know, everyone in his administration needs to be impeached. They have lost the confidence, and that is a understatement. Like, lost the confidence of the American people. These people cannot be taken serious at all.
We have nothing to hide, says Donald Trump.
The president now saying he wants House Republicans to vote in favor of a bill to compel his.
So everybody's calling Trump a hypocrite. And so you get the point. And, now I don't know what this is going to look like. It appears that Trump is losing, that this is over for him, and I'm like, when it looks like it's over, why drag it on? Why is Congress, there's nothing that Congress can call for these. It's noble. It's noble to call for this or the release of the Epstein files, but it doesn't. You got to understand something. That doesn't have shit to do with Trump. It doesn't have to have anything to do with Trump. They can impeach Trump and release the files, like straight up. They can do that on their own. They can go around Trump. You see what I mean? If they were really about their business, the Congress and the Senate, they can impeach his ass, because this right here is an issue of national security, and if the president is involved in that issue of national security, they don't have to wait for any goddamn signature. You see what I mean? They can go around him. And I just really hope they take those measures now. And I hope the American people get behind this movement to remove Trump from power. Right? Because he has been basically a liar, a hypocrite, a poor leader for the U.S. For the USA. I mean, he has damaged the USA's reputation internationally and standing in every way, shape, or form. Why wait? Why continue down this path? Every single day counts. And every single day that this man is in office, something bad is happening to the United States of America and nothing good is happening, like flat out. So that's my take on it for today. I appreciate everybody for coming out. Those of you that came in late, go back to the beginning of the stream where we talk about the immunity, and is it possible that Trump actually got immunity because the Supreme Court was already aware that Epstein was blackmailing him? I mean, if you're in the in crowd, you might know that Epstein was blackmailing him. Like, how many people? Number one, we got Michael Wolff. He knew Epstein was basically or allegedly blackmailing him. Did anybody else know that? Did anybody else? Do you think anyone else could have possibly known that that's what Epstein was doing? Do you even think Trump knew? I mean, if Trump knew and Michael Wolff knew, then who else knew? You see what I mean? I mean, it's a small circle when you get up there in that group of powerful people. And the Supreme Court rolls, some of the members of the Supreme Court roll with those powerful people and get gifts from those powerful people, and sit down and have meetings and, with these powerful people talking about power and how power is supposed to work in the United States of America. So in any case, I'm out, y'all. I'm going to catch up with you guys in a few hours soon as the news breaks about this vote. So stay tuned. I appreciate everybody for coming out. Peace, y'all. Be good, all right? See ya. Release the Epstein files.
They want war. Crime babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe. People subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day and every clue. Don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep. Leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and up and we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. vote or die. You voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more. But they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more. But they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers. Cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double. But nature gets the shit in a way to settle. If you stop the machines for a minute you might hear. But they won't cause the TVs whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear. And they cloud up and get crazy and won't steer. And like an ab, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more. But they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more. But they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. MC when he bustin', but I just back away real cool, no fussin'. I'd rather go kicking in the streets with the bums and use the knowledge to collect what? Some funds, open a non-profit and build a damn school. And this is the story of how a great king rules. There's many that claim to know the local demographic, but don't have the nerve to tell you the truth. It's tragic, but I do, so sit back and let me spit this shit to you. You feel better when I spit this shit to you. Despite the system trying to clamp down on the people will learn how to stand up to evil. Not evil that's across the globe, that's too far, but evil lies in their own backyard. And fighting, it's not an option, they can't win. The government, it's not supposed to represent sin, but then again they do, and that's a problem. So let's go down and figure out how to solve them. It's not fun being a rapper that can't speak, but we do, yes, and plus we make fat beats. Yo, we smoke weed, break up trees. Listen, bringing fat beats, that is our mission. You wanted to see us, homeboy, shut up and listen. Thelonious and Big Bennett, brother, check the vision. Mentalities of different realities. Enter the Star Trek room when you hit the boom. I be the Walkman with the super bass. Automatic stop, yes, stereo cassette player. With the delayer, freaky lyrical sprayer. Extraterrestrial rhyme sayer. I be the poetical VIC/master of the ceremony. Tenderoni, won't you come step with me? I'm on a historical journey, kinda like Sigourney. Implore me to represent the attorney that represents my niggas, go figure. Here's the card, they call me Uncle Vigor. Niggas love your blunts, down your liquors, up be the parallel to the fiction. You're fixated on his brother's nature. Relaxed behavior, I might save your change. Flip it, rearrange. The whole concept, yo, is good for all your brain. Insane, psychotic, neurotic, black onyx, and hooked on phonics. Yes, atomic, it reads like a bonnet. Cut with the Asiatic, they all up on it. Rhyme static with the robotic type of skill. You wonder, is this nigga Vic really for real? But still, but only necessary in the berry. I'm milk like dairy, they quite contrary. That's scary, but I'm a dog in the prairie. I scurry to grab my bones and just bury. Lyrical flurry, go get your secretary with impeccable dictions. My style might vary. So get a hold of your own shit real fast. Fucking with us, we take it right out your ass. Hurry, dogs chill while the other dogs howl. Too many dogs get sent to the pound. Back on the hill, me and my peeps just lounge. Prairie dogs, we keep it on the down. Splatter, don't like none splatter. We try to climb a ladder, wicked men get better. They make it like splatter, but it really don't matter. Cause you know we coming back to our sons and our daughters. So father him the one who protects ya, and the mother she will never neglect ya. To divine nature the people respect ya, and in this way I deliver my lecture. I traveled the globe just to gain perspective. The theory of relativity applied. Of course, it took a while to decide how I should proceed, but even my life is truly based upon need. So I move forward with more deliberate speed. Smash corny motherfuckers that stuck on greed. My seed is worth more than $1 million in future stock. The goal is to break the safe, the padlock. Mad cats can't stop it, need a rocket. Your style is boring and cold, mine is tropic. Battles you want, commit, you'll change the topic. My partner should get to put your beat in the pocket. So this nigga here can proceed to destroy your stereotypical pop rap gangsta ploy. Not hating on niggas from the ghetto, but I'm hating on copycat rappers from the meadow. They procreate bullshit without paying a price. That's like talking about CeeLo with no dice.